Let's talk about something every cyclist uses, but few put much thought into: snacks. Hi, I'm Filip from ROUVY. Snacks. The food you eat just before a ride, the things you reach for during it, and what you grab afterwards without thinking too much about it. These small choices show up in every session. They affect how steady your energy feels, how long you can hold your effort, and how quickly you are ready to go again. So instead of thinking about snacks as something casual, it helps to think of them as a legit part of your training strategy. Let's start before the ride. If your session includes intensity, or it's going to last more than about 90 minutes, you are not just eating for comfort, you are building available energy. At this point, it's really about glycogen. That's the fuel your body relies on when the pace increases. So your pre-ride snack or small meal should focus on carbohydrates that are easy to digest and actually available when the session begins. Simple options work best: oats with fruit, rice-based meals, yogurt with carbs. But here's the nuance that experienced riders pay attention to. It's not just what you eat, it's how well it clears your system before you start. Too much fat or fiber and you are still digesting when the effort ramps up. That's when people start to feel heavy or slightly off, especially in the first hard efforts. So the goal is not just fuel, it's available fuel. Now once you are riding, this is where things become more performance driven. Most cyclists underfuel on the bike, not because they don't eat, but because their intake doesn't match the demand of the session. And the demand changes. An easy endurance ride and a high tempo or interval session don't require the same strategy. At lower intensities, your body can rely more on fat metabolism, but as intensity increases, carbohydrate demand rises quickly. That's why fueling needs to scale with effort, not just duration. For longer or harder rides, most trained cyclists are working somewhere in the range of 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. And at the higher end, this is not something you just decide to do, it's something you need to practice. Because your gut is part of the system. If you suddenly push high carb intake without practice, that's where GI issues show up. So just like your legs, your fueling strategy needs progression. You build tolerance over time. Now in terms of snack choice, this is where things get practical. Fast carbs like bananas, dates or drink mixes are efficient, but on longer rides, especially beyond 2 hours, variety becomes critical. Because the limiter is often not energy, it's appetite and tolerance. Eating something sweet for 3 hours straight is harder than it sounds. So experienced riders mix it up. Some liquid carbs, some solids, different textures, slightly salty options, things like rice cakes, small sandwiches, even simple savory snacks. Not for performance on paper, but for performance in reality. Because if you stop eating, everything else stops working too. And this becomes even more important in triathlon. Triathletes aren't just fueling one effort. You are managing energy across multiple disciplines. And what you tolerate on the bike directly affects how you perform on the run. So the goal is not just to hit numbers, it's to find a strategy your body accepts under stress. Now let's talk about timing again, but from a slightly more advanced angle. Think of fueling as a forward-looking process. You are always supporting the effort that's coming next, not the one you are currently in. Don't eat for the effort you are in, eat for the efforts that's coming next. That's why small regular intake works better than a large occasional feeding. It keeps blood glucose stable, reduces perceived effort and helps maintain pacing late in the ride. And once you dial this in, one thing becomes very noticeable. Your performance becomes more predictable, less fluctuation, fewer bad patches, more control over your effort. Now a quick point on indoor cycling. Indoors, the environment is stable, but the physiological load can actually be higher. Higher sweat rates, less cooling, often more structured intensity. So your carbohydrate and fluid needs to go down. In many cases, they go up. And because there are fewer natural interruptions, it's easier to forget to fuel. So the solution is simple, but important. Treat indoor sessions like race simulations. Plan your intake, set reminders, keep everything within reach. That's how you maintain quality across the entire indoor session, not just the first half. Okay, now let's move on to recovery, because this is where the training effect actually becomes adaptation. After a hard session, your body is primed to absorb nutrition. And here, speed matters. You want to take in carbohydrates to restore glycogen and protein to support muscle repair. A ratio of around 3:1 or 4:1 carbs to protein works well for most cyclists. But more important than the exact ratio is how quickly and consistently you apply it. If recovery nutrition is delayed, glycogen resynthesis slows down, and that becomes noticeable when sessions are close together, especially in triathlon or during heavy training blocks. So the goal is simple. Eat something within 30 to 60 minutes. Keep it practical. A smoothie, yogurt with fruit, rice with eggs, or even some chocolate milk. Then follow it up with a proper meal later. And one more detail that's often overlooked. Recovery is not just about calories, it's also about rehydration. Fluids, electrolytes, and sodium replacement all play a role in how quickly you feel normal again. Now, what about sports nutrition products? Gels, bars, drink mixes. They are effective, they are convenient, and for longer sessions or races, they are often the most practical option. But they work best as part of a system, not as the whole system. Daily nutrition still sets the foundation. Whole food bring micronutrients, support good health, and improve long-term adaptation. So the goal is not to choose between real food and sports nutrition. It's to use both with intention. Now if we zoom out, this is what all of this comes down to. At a certain level, performance is not limited by motivation, it's limited by how well you manage energy. And snacks are one of the simplest ways to influence that. Done properly, they make your cycling more stable, your pacing more controlled, and your recovery more reliable. Not by doing something extreme, but by doing the small things consistently well. If you found this helpful, let us know what your go-to snack is down in the comments. And if you want more practical insights like this, check out the other videos here on ROUVY channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you out on the road or riding on ROUVY. Keep going!